Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Jesse Cruz, and I'm the CEO of CrewStreet. I'm excited to share with you our webinar on data lakes and predictive analytics, having the right tools to transform your business. You know, 2019 is an interesting year for us, and it's especially recently. We're very excited to partner with the AWS team as they launch Amazon QuickSight this May. CrewStreet, we're not only AWS solutions architects, we have some on our team, but we also have built our customer data platform entirely on AWS best-in-class data lake infrastructure. On today's call, we'll discuss business intelligence dashboards and the technology that enables companies to understand their data and better unlock the value of data for growth opportunities, efficiency in sales, marketing, and even, of course, strategic resource planning. For some perspective, in a recent study by McKinsey, nearly 50% of respondents said analytics and big data have fundamentally changed the way sales and marketing functions within their organization. And we completely agree. That's what we've heard from customers and prospective customers and folks, friends of CrewStreet, who've shared with us that things are evolving at a very rapid pace, and companies are trying to figure out how to better utilize the data within their four walls to grow, scale, and be more efficient. After a quick introduction, on this call, we plan to start with a quick primer on the challenges of leveraging data into insight, followed by a few case studies that highlight new tools for data ingestion and BI across the enterprise. We'll also finish the call with a demonstration of Amazon QuickSight and wrap up with questions for our panel. So before we start, I'll briefly introduce you to CrewStreet. Launched in 2018, our mission really is to democratize data for all companies, no matter their data journey. In that pursuit, we've built a customer data platform which helps companies quickly ingest and transform their data for data analysis, model building, and much more. As of last week, CrewStreet was honored to have been certified as one of only a few select launch partners for Amazon QuickSight's impending market launch. We've actually achieved specialization and advanced capabilities in machine learning, embedded dashboards, and more. Coinciding with that market launch, CrewStreet is currently launching its AWS-powered MyCDO platform, which enables companies to quickly integrate and transform their data for best-in-class time-to-value analytics and data science professional services support. So I'll briefly introduce our panel of speakers today. I've had the privilege of working with Ramiro Chaparro on projects spanning BI, big data environments, to predictive analytics. Ramiro is a data scientist with a PhD in biomedical engineering and extensive experience building models and rendering BI across industries and academia. His advanced expertise in machine learning and AI are an asset to the CrewStreet team, so we love having him around. Jesse Gebhardt, who's also on our call today, is an important partner for CrewStreet on the Amazon QuickSight team. He has experience spanning advanced BI, analytics strategies, and emerging technology, and he's worked with some of the most well-known companies in our that are out there. He'll be delivering an Amazon QuickSight demo on today's webinar. And as far as me, well, my background really is working with leading, marketing services firms, data services companies. I've had a great privilege of being exposed to a lot of really awesome and exciting new things. Most recently, I was on the other end of things. I was actually a buyer and putting in solutions to transform my own business, putting in data solutions, putting in BI, and finding ways to segment my audiences and drive advertising solutions for my company. Right now, many organizations are hiring chief data officers, or CDOs, for the purpose of innovating and executing on data initiatives with a strategic mandate. As you can see from thought leaders like the Visual Capitalist and Gartner, CDOs are primarily focused on three core things, but a number of things: data integration, business optimization through cost reduction and growth opportunities, and finally, innovation through things like data monetization and predictive analytics, being able to predict customer behaviors, buying habits, and the like. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Ramiro. He's going to share with you how to build a successful analytics program. Ramiro?
Thank you, Jesse, and good morning for everybody in the stream. I would like to share now how we approach the design and making of our advanced analytic models. In Cruise Street, we have adopted CRISP methodology, that is basically the cross-industry process for making advanced analytics and artificial intelligence models with two main objectives in mind. Firstly, we create and standardize process in the conception and development of the models, which allow us to deliver a high quality results in a sustainable way. And secondly, and even more important from my point of view, is having an alignment between the business goals and the expectations of the stakeholders with the advanced analytic prowess. For that reason, you can see in the slide that the starting point of the whole process refers to understanding the business from the customer's point of view. And for a moment, we just take a back seat and listen to the business experts to tell us their story. Then we move forward to a more technical activities in the understanding and preparation of the data sources. And then we go to the modeling phase where the actual magic is happening using advanced analytics models to respond to the business-oriented questions. In the lower part, you can find the evaluation of business and data results. This is a important part of the whole process because it's where business experts and the analytics team sit together again to assess how well the models are capturing the stakeholders' expectations and coping with the business goals. So finally, after a certain number of iteration, we are ready to deploy advanced analytics in the daily basis operation of the business. In order to understand the essence of the journey from promising business initiative leveraged by data to actual data-oriented business decision, let's go one deeper level in our recipe in the next slide. How we actually build this predictive analytics. And here you have the same, say, 6 phases, but now we're going to give a close in, a zoom up in this. In the understanding of the business, we start for the determination of the business goals, understanding properly what we want to achieve. Then we go to catalog these data sources and determine which and how we can translate these business goals into the artificial intelligence or analytic goals. And finally, we have a work plan that we can sit all on the same page with the milestones, with the time frames, and the scope that we want to achieve. In the understanding part of the data, we access and perform a description and exploration of the data sources using some basic statistical techniques with the main objective of assessment of the data quality, which is a crucial part in the whole process. In the preparation of the data, we go to the selection of the sources and variables that are actually giving value in the resolution of the business questions. And then we start to enrich the data and produce and enhance the whole data set with some re-engineering task. In the integration of the data sources, we have a final and complete cube of data that allow us to move forward to the modeling process where the actual magic and the secret sauce is pouring in. The selection of the different models allow us to design and develop something that might respond the questions in some way that during the evaluation and business data process, we go and compare the results to see, okay, these outcomes are really what we're looking for in the business goals resolutions. When we have this acceptance after a group of iterations, we go to the checking of the data process in order to identify additional data sources, additional variables that might enrich the already answered that we have. And then we start to identify some future work fronts. In the final part, we use the deployment of the whole model in a production environment. In that case, we're having a totally automated ingestion processes, learning, analysis, and delivery of the results in a production environment.
Great. Well, thank you very much, Ramiro, for that. You know, with the challenge of leveraging data into insight, we see that data really is exploding and becoming unwieldy for many organizations. And as you can see from Ramiro, the process of dealing with that data is an important one and oftentimes scaffolded, focused primarily on the business case that you're looking to solve. And not every business case is formulaic. You oftentimes have to understand a business, ask the right questions of the subject matter experts within that business to be able to solve those problems. In fact, customer data right now is often coming in from many sources and touch points, including marketing systems, CRM, CMS, and e-commerce, just to name a few. That data is often broken, of poor quality, and incomplete. As you can see, Becky Smith here has come in from website data, email data. She's interacting with a business from a variety of places over an extended timeline. So it's becoming ever more important to be able to get a single view of a customer and track data lineage, where customers come from, and how they've changed over time, to be able to appropriately communicate with them and put the right offer in front of the right people at the right time. To solve the challenge of interoperability, data quality issues, and a lack of a single customer view, many companies build a central data warehouse or repository of some kind, which can be very expensive technology and very expensive when it comes to people resources. Amazon QuickSight and data sandbox tools like the MyCDO platform utilize new technology, such as Amazon Glue for speedy data cataloging, Amazon Redshift for hosted relational database technology with massive parallel processing capability. But for those of you who are like me, that's more of a business person or a marketer, this basically just means the data now can be moved and organized and correlated with other data and processed for analytics at lightning speed, all within the cloud and the click of a button. And those dashboards that you might want to share, those are even becoming ever more easy to distribute among an organization for the purposes of analysis and teaching parts of the business how the data and their function works. According to Gartner's report in January of this year, a new class of platforms are emerging that enable data orchestration for functions like sales and marketing that allow for growth building tactics like never before. Gartner's classification is that these platforms are cohesive solutions that provide the building blocks for data analytics. And that can be really action within a company. So doing things like hosting a lead scoring model, data dashboard sharing among departments and teams, and even building models for things like customer loss prevention. Our solution, coupled with QuickSight, help you deploy data solutions in the shortest possible time on serverless infrastructures that are managed for you and operating at a highest level of security and resiliency. And for those of you who are sort of knowledgeable about it, the redundancy is also handled by Amazon, which is a pretty amazing feature. It protects your data, and you always know that your data is going to be safe even if the system goes down for a minute. With out-of-the-box insights and forecasting tools, organizations don't really need massive investment in data like before, and infrastructure to start improving the way they use the data that's on hand. And with tools like Spice, which Jesse Gebhardt will be presenting or speaking about later on, you have the ability to process massive amounts of data, really no matter what the data size, within tools like QuickSight that really are innovative capabilities that we haven't seen before. Now, recently, publishing client's digital product marketing team was having challenges with data silos and poor ability to manipulate, enhance, and even combine data for analysis and segmentation. Doing a deep dive on their systems, product, and even their customer data, CruiseStreet helped them define a strategy to bring the data together and drive insight on the data, including identifying customer buying trends, building segmentation around new data, such as purchaser age and education level. And as you can see in the graphic, geo-mapping tools help track purchases over a period of years. And what's amazing about these geo-mapping tools and these dashboards is that you can actually drill in a very granular level and see exactly, uncover how purchasing has happened within the products that you're trying to sell out to the market. With that, I'm going to go ahead and turn over the next component of this to Ramiro.
Yeah, thank you, Jesse. Some important point to say is in recognizing the missing data, CruiseStreet worked with the marketing team and data partner to enrich key age and education data to the file, deriving new opportunities on which customer segments to target. Along with this, we were able to bring together prospect lead data with customer data to understand lead flow and even build forecasting dashboards for the client.
Yeah, so the way Ramiro's team works often is trying to not only solve a problem to make sure that the business, marketing, sales, and executive leadership understand what's happening, but also even defining new and creative ways to forecast and understand how new sales might happen based upon historical data. So those are some of the things we did for that opportunity. Now, another organization we work with, which serves the less fortunate in Westchester County, which is basically a county just north of New York City. Basically, the organization helps hundreds of nonprofits generate volunteers and donations. Now, the nonprofit called Volunteer New York had a lack of donor and volunteer insight and needed a way to better understand buyer and channel preference. By mapping out their customers to their corresponding lead flow and analyzing data around which audiences drive the best conversion, Volunteer New York was able to enter down the path of making data-driven decisions. With that, I'll turn over the next component here to Ramiro.
Yeah, in our attempt to help volunteers of New York to decide how to prioritize customers in their Salesforce customer relationship management application, we created a predictive model to identify the best converters with a scoring mechanism. We now host their model, which scores any customers entering in the CRM application for better marketing and conversion tactics. If you see the picture in the slide right now, you can see that maybe they can spend and waste a lot of time trying to approach the people in the upper part with the lowest possible probability to make a contributor, but we were helping them to actually focus on the lower part of the graphic, where the 0.8, 0.9, or the solid 1 probability of people is more likely to become an actual volunteer or donator for the philanthropic campaign that they're promoting.
That's exactly right, and I might add that CrewStreet is really focused on integration as a strategy with common or more ubiquitous tools like Salesforce CRM. So making sure that all of those various channels and data sources that we've referenced earlier in the call are just easy as a click of a button. That's a core focus that we've had. With these and other examples, we see common themes, including companies really needing guidance on data discovery, help with overextended IT departments, which is very common, and then really looking for cost-effective data solutions. They also are being handed sort of a goal to go out and test advanced analytical methods like machine learning and AI, and those are things that we're good at helping companies get to because we have a focus on data quality. But machine learning and AI don't really happen at the level companies want unless you get your house in order and get your data in order. So that's a real core focus for us, and I know for a lot of companies right now that are serving this space. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Jesse Gebhardt to present for us the latest QuickSight tools in action from AWS.
Thanks, Ramiro and Jesse. My name is also Jesse. I am on the AWS side, and I work specifically with our QuickSight team. So pleased to be here with you today to give you an overview of what QuickSight is, and actually show you a live demonstration of QuickSight as well. So some of the reasons why our customers have been choosing to use QuickSight we see here. So at a high level, QuickSight is a business intelligence or a data visualization platform that is cloud-powered and offered by AWS. So the infrastructure of it is a serverless type of infrastructure, meaning there's no servers to manage on your side. For instance, if you had some use case where you wanted to roll out to several thousand users, you don't need to choose how many nodes you want to support your cluster or anything like that. There's also no maintenance or upgrading that you need to do in the platform, or managing for high availability or disaster recovery. All of that is handled by the AWS team. From a cost perspective, QuickSight, very much like other AWS services, is on a pay-for-what-you-use model. So you only actually incur costs with QuickSight when your users go to visit the reports and access them. So there's really not many large contracts that you would sign up front or large upfront investments. So you can kind of grow as your use case grows as well. QuickSight is very deeply integrated with the rest of the AWS platform. So any kind of data sources that you host on AWS and any kind of security policies that you've implemented there are inherited by QuickSight. QuickSight also connects to lots of non-AWS sources as well, but as you might expect, being an AWS service, we do have very nice integration with the rest of the platform. Now, these two on the bottom are a couple that are relatively new to QuickSight. So dashboard embedding is something launched at the end of 2018. And this is the ability to take a report or a dashboard and embed it into your own application or your own website. So more and more often, customers are coming to us and with our partners Cruise Street to do more external facing type reporting. So if you did have use cases where you're trying to get reports out to your franchises, to your customers, or to other kind of third parties, it's very easy to embed these dashboards into your custom apps. And the last one, which we'll focus on during the demo here, are the new ML insights. So this is very new to QuickSight, and it's probably the area where we're doing the most innovation just from a pure analytical power standpoint within the product. So making very common type of tasks that one would do within machine learning, such as anomaly detection or producing forecasts or automatically finding insights in the data. We tried to take some of these very common type of things that users want to do that typically had required pretty heavy skill sets within machine learning and lots of coding experience, and just tried to bake them within the BI tool and make them very easy to use for any non-technical user. So we'll show you what these ML insights look like in just a second here. So from an enterprise standpoint, security and availability and resiliency, QuickSight does have all the security certifications that you should be looking for. So if you're in the healthcare industry, we have our HIPAA certification, PCI, ISO, SOC 2 compliance. It's also FedRAMPed for federal agencies. Everything is encrypted end-to-end, whether you choose to store data in QuickSight or if you're just querying your data directly. Anything between the database and QuickSight and to you and your users, encrypted the whole way across. So we take security very, very seriously. From a global availability standpoint, you see the regions where we're available today. We're about to add about 6 more regions to that over the course of the next 1 to 2 months. So really expanding the global footprint even further. And from a redundancy and resiliency standpoint, so whenever you build anything in QuickSight, we automatically will replicate that across multiple availability zones to make sure it's highly available. We also automatically back data up to S3 periodically on your behalf to support use cases for disaster recovery. So this is all transparent to you. You don't need to manage any of this, but we make sure that anything that you build there is always available and up and running. So one of the differentiators that we have in QuickSight is our in-memory database called Spice. And the idea with Spice is that you can, once you connect to your data sources and you import the data into Spice, you're guaranteed you'll get really blazing fast performance with it. So Spice was built from the ground up internally within Amazon, and it just comes as part of QuickSight. It's not like a separate product or a separate service or anything. But you optionally can, once you connect to the data, import data into Spice. You can pull up to 100 million rows per data set that you want to bring into Spice. And you're guaranteed that data will get very, very fast performance with it, in the single-digit second. And real quickly, just on the types of users that we have in QuickSight. So on top, those are the types, what we call them within the QuickSight console. and on the bottom, just typically what it would translate to within your organization. So admins generally are going to be setting account-wide settings, configuring which types of data sources you want to be able to connect QuickSight to within AWS, managing how users get access into QuickSight and how they sign in, the spice capacity, so things along those lines. The author users, those are the folks who are actually going to create the data sets and create all the reports and dashboards and then share those out with the rest of the users. And then lastly, generally, which is the largest community of users, are the readers. So they're the people who are going to consume the reports and dashboards, and they can still filter and drill down and still interact with them quite a bit, but generally they're not going to be creating new reports from scratch. So I'll show you what all these different experiences look like in the demo here in just a second. So since QuickSight was launched, we've added over 120 new features to the product. So we average a feature almost every single week. So from a innovation standpoint, we iterate on the product very, very quickly. And the roadmap for the rest of this year is certainly not going to be slowing down anytime soon. So even if you had seen QuickSight in the past, I'd say it's a very different product than maybe you had tried previously. And all of this is driven by customer feedback. So as you, if you have use cases where you'd like to try QuickSight with Cruise Street, we can, any other kind of things you'd like to see out of the product, that's the kind of feedback that we love to hear, and you can help shape our roadmap as well. So to focus on some of the really exciting new features around ML Insights, I'll first just give you a quick overview of what they are, and then we'll jump into the demo here in just a second. So the three major features here, the first is called Anomaly Detection. So this is the ability for you to hook QuickSight up to any of your raw data sets, point us towards a set of metrics and a set of categories or dimensions that you want us to analyze across, and then just choose a frequency of which we should inspect that data. So then we will periodically run some algorithms on those underlying data sets and figure out if there was something interesting in there, something that moved up or down significantly. And once we find those, you can display them within the reports and dashboards to the users. You can get notified of these anomalies. There's also kind of pre-configured reports in QuickSight that show you all the historical anomalies too, and allow you to drill into these as well. So anomaly detection, again, typically something that you would have to do some complex coding efforts to be able to do, and often or use another third party that oftentimes carries quite a bit of a price tag with it. So this is baked right into QuickSight now. The second is forecasting, so a little more self-explanatory of what you might expect, but be able to hook QuickSight up to some time series data, right-click, say add a forecast, and we will project those values out future-facing. Again, using some algorithms that were developed in-house at Amazon. They're also interactive, like you can do some what-if analysis on these. I could say, what if our goal has changed from 2 million to 3 million? How does that affect my forecast, and what does my gap look like to my goal now? So you can interact with the forecast as well. And lastly, which is maybe my favorite out of these three, which is called the auto narratives. So this is really just a new way of communicating data back to your users in a natural language type of fashion. So I think this one will become a lot more obvious once I show it here just a second. So maybe we'll put we'll put that one on pause just here. All right, so let's go and jump over to the demo at this point. So I'm going to give you a live look at QuickSight, both from a reader perspective, so what would the end users of this application see and how would they interact with it? And then we'll also do a quick tour of how you actually create something that looks like this, and give you a feel for the ease of use of the platform. So example dashboard here, maybe I run a corporate travel agency or travel desk, and we're looking at our employee spend on a set of different airlines. So you notice that we've got some KPI figures here. We have some text boxes that appear on the top here, which contain like my top movers from a month-over-month perspective, some forecasted values. Here it found some anomalies in the data. So this is an example of the new narratives that I was just briefly speaking about earlier, one of those new ML features that was added. So while they just look like text boxes, this is not hard-coded text within here. So this list of top movers and top by revenue, as I go to filter maybe to different ticket types, or if I were to filter on a given customer, all of this information is dynamically changing as I apply new filters. It would also change as my underlying data changes. So if I'm getting new data on a nightly basis or hourly basis, however frequently, all this information is constantly being recalculated. So that's just a little glimpse of what the insights can look like. This orange part of my lines here, this is some of the forecasts that QuickSight is applying to our historical data. So any of these orange parts represent the forecast. I can also see what the upper and lower bounds of my confidence intervals look like. And once we go to the authoring side, I'll show you how these forecasts are added. Also, just an example of you could do pivot tables and text tables within QuickSight and make more traditional report type of layouts. So you can absolutely create these within the product as well. It supports drill down, like say within the economy fares, I want to drill in. So we were drilling down from the ticket types to the regions, and then from the regions maybe down to the states within those regions. So really all the different visualization types support these types of drill downs. Is just one example of them. So as a user of this, I could come and interact with this directly within QuickSight, or as I mentioned, this could be embedded into my application that goes and I actually show back out to my customers. If I were to do that, it's basically any kind of controls and filters you'd added, plus all the visuals from your dashboard. This is what would be embedded into an iframe inside of your application. You could also receive this report via email. So if I wanted to, I could ask QuickSight to email me a snapshot of this on a daily or a weekly kind of basis. And it would actually embed an image of this dashboard into that email itself, so I can see what the stats look like without having to go click on it and come back to the console. So just first wanted to give you a feel for what this end user experience is like. But what we'll do now is we'll step more into what the authoring role is. And we'll go show how something like that is created. So I'm going to choose that I want to make a new analysis. And while I could start from an existing data set of something that I had created earlier or something that maybe one of my colleagues had shared with me, I could also go and create a new data set here too. So on this page is where we see all the different types of data sources that QuickSight supports connections to. So might that be data coming from Salesforce, or data that I have stored in my S3 data lake, which maybe I'm connecting to through a service called Athena, which is very common amongst our customer base to be able to query data in the data lake, or our analytical data warehouse called Redshift, or other types of sources like Teradata or SQL Server or Postgres. So lots of variety here. I'll use Redshift just as an example. Lastly, just point out, you can also just upload flat files into QuickSight too, but we'll use Redshift as this example here. So this part is going to look very similar no matter what type of database you're connecting to, basically just pointing it to the database and entering my credentials. I get my list of schemas, and once I pick a schema, my list of tables within that schema, as well as the views there. So this is something that as kind of an analyst or a power user, these are the type of exercises that I go through to create the initial connections, not necessarily something that every user would have to go through. Just putting that part out here. So here I could either input a custom SQL query, or I could go pick a table I want to connect to. I've got a whole other optional screen here where I could do some further data prep and add more tables and do some table joins if I need. So say I want to build the buyer names table into this too. So I can do some more advanced data prep here and add additional calculations. I will just do a couple quick changes here where I'm going to change this field into a date field just as an example. So generally just preparing the data set that I want to use for when I go and build my reports out. So say I'm happy with the data set that I have here. Here's all the columns that I'm going to choose to bring in. And then lastly, here I could say, do I want to import that data into Spice and get the performance benefits of Spice? Or I can also query it directly. The reason I might query it directly is that maybe I want to do real-time reporting, and I actually want to go query this at the source every time I refresh it. Or maybe I've got many billions of rows of data that I want to go query against. I could use a direct query for that as well. For this example, I'll choose to bring it into Spice, and I'll say, let's move on and save and visualize. So now we've moved on beyond our data connection. I've got the data I'm happy with, and here's where I start to build out my reports in my dashboard. So on the left-hand side are all the fields from the data I connected to. On the bottom, all the different visual types I can select from. This one is called Autograph, where I could just select some fields I'm interested in, and it will pick an appropriate visual type. Like if I start with a metric here, it'll give me just a KPI. But if I were to go add a date field to this, notice that it changes it into a line chart. So I could change this instead from daily to a monthly or weekly trend. I could go apply a forecast to this using my little menu here. So I could forecast forward as many periods as I'd like. I can actually run the forecast backwards too, which I think is kind of neat. So I could see, do I really want to trust this forecast or not? And we could see, ignoring that these values had existed, what would we have forecasted those months to be if our data had stopped here? And I can see it's actually quite close to what those values turned out to be. So it gives me some confidence in it. So very simple chart that we built out here so far. But if I go click here on the Insights section on the left, these are those narratives that we saw in the initial dashboard, those text boxes that we saw out there. So as soon as you start to build anything within QuickSight, it starts to run these computations and these algorithms on the data to try to tease out some things that might be interesting for you. And if you agree that some of these are interesting and you want other users to be able to see them too, you can click the plus button here and add them into the dashboard. And then resize it and move it around just like it's another visual type or one of the other widgets that you can add here. So for instance, maybe I'll add my month over month change, and maybe I'll go add the forecast out here too. Let's go apply some formatting. Great, so I've got a couple of insights out here now. While these are the insights that kind of just come out of the box and these are called suggested insights, you can customize them. So I could say I want to customize this narrative, and I could see how we constructed it. So here's the actual forecasted value from our forecast computation. I could add additional computations in here, or I could do some formatting, like I want to turn it green and make it a little bit bigger. I could do stuff like conditional formatting, such that if the forecast is greater than my goal, then turn it green, and otherwise turn it red. So you can get a lot more sophisticated in terms of what is actually displayed in the insights too. So lastly, let's just go add one more visual down here, and we'll do an example of a traditional text report too. So I can also add tables or pivot tables, which is more like a crosstab type of view. So let's go add a table to this one as well. And on this, I just want to see some more granular information. Like I'd like to see every single transaction and who was the customer and which product was it, what date did the transaction happen on, some numbers associated with it, city, state. So just going to go click on a whole bunch of fields I want to include in the report, and you can see that it builds this table out here for me. So I can also apply totals, I can sort. So all the basic things you'd expect for these list kind of views. Great. Okay, so we've got a quick dashboard here. We've got some forecasted revenue. We've got some insights on our most recent period-to-period changes. We've got some detailed reports. I could go add a whole bunch of filters to this so that the users can use some drop downs and slider bars and stuff like that to filter this further. But what we'll do now is I'm just going to publish this out so we can kind of complete that circle of publishing and sharing this out with some users. So once I'm happy, I'm going to say I want to publish this as a dashboard. So I'll give it a name. And then here's where I would choose to share it with whoever I'd like. So I could share it with individuals or with some groups of users. Like I want to put this out to our sales management group and hit share. And then this will become available to them once they go log into QuickSight the next time. I could also set it so that they get notified via email that this had been shared with them. But nonetheless, they now have access to this report. So any kind of filtering or drill down that we had applied would be apparent here. I can still do my sorting, and I could export this data out to a CSV if I'd like. But now we've kind of transitioned back to what a reader would be able to view here. So here's an example of that data that I had just exported from the report. So that's a quick little whirlwind tour through QuickSight and some of our newer, exciting machine learning features that we had added. We didn't go through all of the power of what you can do in the machine learning. Like, for instance, let me just go through one more thing that I forgot to show you, which is the contribution analysis, which I think is an extremely powerful part of this. Because once you find something interesting, like a high or low anomaly or a big spike in the data, you now want to know why that happened. So for instance, like this spike here in December, I could say I want to analyze the contributions to it and see why that spike happened in the first place. So I could say, was it a certain customer that drove it, or certain cities, or certain products? And as I choose to analyze here, we're basically performing regression analysis on the underlying data to see what drove that. So as by this particular customer, it mostly centered around, and looks like in Texas and San Antonio and Houston, mostly around this particular SKU. I could take one of these and split it even further. So if I want to stay within San Antonio, who are the buyers there? And I could see it was mostly Adrian who drove that spike. So it really just allows you to drill very deeply into exactly what caused something to go up or down. So you could do this on any time trend as well as with any of the anomalies that QuickSight had detected. All right, so sorry, at that point, now I will pause and I'll kick it back over to Jesse and Ramiro to wrap up, and we'll also stick around for some questions too.
Screen. So with that, appreciate the demo. We're going to go ahead and open it up for some questions. Okay, any questions? Okay. So here's one question. How can I be sure that QuickSight can support my workload? So maybe Jesse, you can quickly talk a little bit about some of the scale of the customers that are using QuickSight and how it's built to handle large volumes of scale.
Yeah, in terms of scalability, so from like from a data scalability standpoint, when I mentioned you can either connect to data and bring it into Spice, or you can connect directly. So when you bring it into Spice, you can bring up to 100 million rows on a per data set basis. So in my dashboard, I might be using multiple data sets. Each one of them can be up to 100 million rows. If you have data that goes beyond that, which many of our customers do, that's totally fine. It's just that we'll leverage the live connection. So like I have some data sets within my demo account here, which use an AWS service called Athena to be able to query my data that sits in S3. And on those examples, it's upwards of 3 billion rows of data that we analyze on the fly, and I get about 10-second queries on it. So from a data scale point, some of it can be handled directly in QuickSight, but the power of the rest of the AWS platform can extend this to analyze up into the billions of rows of data. From a scalability of maybe a user standpoint, in terms of how many users you can add to QuickSight, we have deployments in the many tens of thousands of users. And the idea is that you don't need to worry about that scalability at all. This is all managed by our team to make sure that you get the exact same performance with one user hitting that or with 10,000 users hitting that. So how do I know it's going to work? The other thing is that I would recommend trying it yourself. So we have a free tier in QuickSight where you can, there's a free user that's included with every account that's good forever. You can add 5 more users that are good for 2 months. But it's also something that our friends at Cruise Street can help you guys with and stand up a quick POC and help you guys test it for your own use cases too.
So another question is, how can I be, sorry, what was that? Here we go. It was, if I need help authoring QuickSight dashboards, is that something I can get help with? So yes, absolutely. As a service we offer, we actually have an analyst team that can help you get set up with dashboards very easily. Depends on how you'd like to use the dashboards, whether or not you'd like to use them with your own system or with our MyCDO platform. But either way, we, as a common sort of out-of-the-box service, will actually build out a number of dashboards for you to get you started and then help you define users to share those with. Another question is, are there any other upcoming QuickSight features that you might be able to talk to or share? Jesse?
Yes, there are many, many features coming. We could follow up and we can give you like a detailed roadmap discussion if you'd like. I'd say some of the highlights of stuff that are coming soon. One would be linked visuals, where I could click on something in one visualization and the rest of my dashboard would filter to that. Like if I want to click on a state or one of those spikes and have the rest of the reports filter to that. That's something coming by the end of this quarter. Lots of new visualization types like gauge charts, donut charts, funnels over the next 1 or 2 months. We will be adding some new exporting options, conditional formatting for inside of your tables, and then kind of some bigger ones that are more towards the end of the year would be things like doing streaming data within QuickSight, so being able to stream data directly in without even having it land in a database first, and having your visualizations update in real time within QuickSight. But yeah, as I mentioned, we average a feature every week. We release features on about every 2 to 4 week basis. So we have a new launch coming up just next week, which is going to include like tab dashboards, up to the 100 million rows in Spice, some new calculation functions like percentiles, standard deviations. So every 2 or 4 weeks, you should see new features in QuickSight.
Another question, are there data lakes for every application and for everyone? Yeah, I mean, the simple answer to that question is, our data lake infrastructure is AWS driven. We have it pre-configured with a number of tools that have been referenced on today's call, including Redshift and Athena, S3. We have even some advanced tools like SageMaker for machine learning. But if you are using something else and you want us to work within your environment, Cruise Street's happy to help you build embedded dashboards, get QuickSight integrated with your team, help you set up those advanced features that you learned about on today's call. So I think that might be it for the questions. All right. With that, thank you so much for your time, for joining us today. As you can see my contact information here on the right, I'm encouraging you to reach out to me personally. The team is always excited to get to know new people. We'd love to be able to help you out and help you figure out the solutions that you need to put in place for your organization. Feel free to call us or connect with me on LinkedIn. Again, thank you for your time, and I hope you have a great day.